Hey everybody, episode 2 of James Talks DVDs, and I'm going to be doing a movie that I like this time, and a movie that, to show you that it's not all going to be big franchises. It's a movie that kind of came and went, nobody really saw it, but it was a movie that I rented, and as soon as I rented it, I bought it immediately, because it was that good and I knew I wanted to have it. It is Last Days in the Desert, starring Ewan McGregor, uh, directed by Rodrigo Garcia. And it is a movie that some people might be worried maybe is like a faith-based movie. It's Left Behind, or it's God's Not Dead, or something like that. That is not what Last Days in the Desert is. Um, it's a movie that I'm not a Christian anymore. I used to be, but I'm not anymore. But it is a movie that I was able to enjoy quite a bit. Uh, and it stars Ewan McGregor as both Jesus and the devil. And is about the very end of Jesus wandering through the desert, right before he starts his mission. And it really was very. It's a the cinematography in the movie is amazing. I mean, it's all shot in the desert, very stark. Uh, Tiny figures wandering in these grand landscapes, and Ewan McGregor really does a fantastic job of playing a Jesus that we can identify with, and a devil we can identify with. And the two of them, the conversations that they have are spellbinding, I thought. I mean, this was obviously a movie that was shot for next to nothing. Everybody had to have been involved simply for the love of the script, and I can understand why. The movie is about how Jesus, as he's coming out of the desert, runs into this family who are living out there in the wilderness. And there's a father, there's a son, and there's a very sick mother who's dying. And the son wants to go off and live in the city. The father wants the son to stay in the desert and continue on his work, basically continue on his life, to embrace the desert the way that the father has. And Jesus stays with them for a couple of days. He does some work for them. They're building a little house for the son to live in. And really the movie is about not it's I don't consider it like a faith movie. It's a fictional story. It's not a story from the Bible. It's a story about Jesus encountering man and trying to in this very early stage of his understanding of what he is, to really reach out and connect to people, and see how he does as far as like his communicating with people, and trying to bring this family together, trying to do the best he can to solve their problems. And ultimately, there's a bet between Jesus and the devil. Can they do it? Can Jesus do it? Can he solve this family's problems? And there's such fascinating dialogue between the two main characters, because the devil isn't really evil. The devil is more I think he's disappointed. He sees God's plan and he doesn't understand it. He's I mean, he goes on about sort of, oh, the boring repetition of your father's plan. The and there's these sort of hints that the devil drops. And again, the devil's a liar, so who knows, about this isn't the first time. He's done this before. There's been countless realities that God has created where the difference may just be like the one flap less of a butterfly, and how God sort of takes great joy in these tiny little insignificant differences that no one else would ever see. And that is to the detriment of humanity, that God is not paying attention to what he's doing. And there's a beautiful moment at the end when Jesus and the devil part, right before he's leaving the desert, where the devil says to him, when you're up there, I'm going to come to you. And if you ask me, I will help you down. And he says it not in sort of like, I'm tempting you, I'm the devil, I'm whatever. He says it in this is a shitty deal you've got. And I don't think you should have to suffer the way that he thinks you should have to suffer. So I'm going to help you out if you ask me to. And that may be controversial to some people. I found it to be a much more nuanced version of both of these two mythical characters that are always presented as black and white. The idea that the devil would just be about sort of, trying to destroy and trying to whatever. Giving us a devil that is actually like, you know what? I just have a different interpretation of things. And I think if you're going to go ahead and make mankind, you ought to take care of them. That's interesting. I think that's a really a fascinating take on spirituality and good and evil. God's got a plan. We don't know what it is. The devil doesn't know what it is. And we're all like, what is it? And, people with faith will say, well, whatever it is, it's going to be great. And people who don't have faith either say, that's bullshit, or they say, I don't believe in any of it, or just angry at God because whatever the plan is, it's not working out for me. And I would recommend this movie very highly to even people, religious people, non-religious people, doesn't matter. It's a very interesting story, very interesting mythology, I've always thought, even if I don't believe in it. So I would say 3.5 stars for Last Days in the Desert. Seek it out. It might be hard to find, but it's worth it.